Quit shaming your kids for making mistakes. Just say, yeah, you messed up. Here's your consequence. And then stop talking about it. Everyone wants to talk about the bad behavior. That's the shaming and blaming and bullying.
From the moment he gets in the car when I pick him up, all the way until bedtime, he is a handful. He hits his sister daily, straight up will punch her, and has even hit me. Unless it's just him and I, in which case he's a sweet little boy that I used to know.
If he's good with you when you're alone and not when his sister's around, there's someone else in the mix who might be getting the attention he wants.
My 5-year-old will lash out, whether it be him saying he's going to hit me or that he hates me.
Well, if he says he hates you, that's in the attitude department. It just says that he doesn't respect you. Welcome to the BratBusters Parenting Podcast. My name's Lisa Bunnage. I'm a parenting coach. I'm a mom. I'm also a grandmother.
And I'm Amy Bunnage, Lisa's daughter, and I handle the marketing and planning here at BratBusters. While I don't have kids, each episode will dive into parenting topics and Lisa will answer your questions. Let's get started.
Okay, sweetie, what is today's topic?
Today's topic is it's not the discipline that makes kids good, it's this instead.
Oh, I know what that is.
Do you want to go into this topic?
It's the connection. Of course it is. The discipline is just a little bit of it's just an extra thing that you have to do. Your connection with your children is what builds your relationship, which builds your leadership. And when you're a leader, they look up to you. Discipline is part of it, for sure. When they make a mistake, then you have to correct it. You have to teach them how to be accountable, okay? So you want them to feel empowered. But yeah, it's all about the connection because they look up to you. They look up to a leader because a leader makes them feel good. And a leader is accountable. If you're not accountable, you're not a leader. You're just a dictator.
And that's the whole podcast.
And thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back again soon.
Well, I think you have a little bit more to add to this topic.
Yeah, it's like how you connect.
How you connect, and why do you think everyone is so focused on that discipline?
Because, well, that's a good question. I don't know if I've ever really thought about that. Why does everyone focus on the discipline? Oh, I know. It's because you think you have to fix your kids. So you're going to focus on the discipline because that's about them. Whereas I don't do that. I focus on myself, which is about my leadership. The discipline is for them. The leadership is for you. So you're putting your focus in the wrong place. You think you need to fix your kids. You don't. You need to fix yourself.
I can envision as well. It just feels like the logical next step because if your kids are acting out, I can envision that you go, okay, I will focus on the discipline to stop them from acting out.
Rather, you should be looking in a mirror and thinking, what am I missing here? What am I doing wrong? What am I not doing right? That's what you need to do. When I was working with kids, I only had them for maybe an hour a week. I was just a volunteer behavioral mentor. It was called different things, but I was just there volunteering with kids and teenagers and that. And whenever they did act out under my umbrella, when I was with them, they were under my care. And if they did act out, I always thought, okay, what am I missing here? They weren't even my kids. Yeah, leader always looks in the mirror. You never point fingers at someone else. It would be like if you're running a big team for something, right? Sports or whatever. You got to look to the coach. You got to look to the leader. Okay. And it's sometimes the players too when they're adults. But with kids, I don't do that at all. With kids, it's all about looking in the mirror. With adults, it's a little bit different.
And again, I'm not a parent, so I'm not saying this from a judgmental lens, but I do often see parents in the comments saying, my kid's just bossy. My kid's just this. Like there's a lot of labeling that goes around with kids' attitudes.
Well, it's what I find interesting about this is parents are so quick to blame their children, but not themselves. I find that fascinating. Like, who do you love more? Why are you protecting yourself? You should be protecting your kids. You should be saying, you know what? Their behavior is my fault. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix myself. You see, I find that fascinating, and I don't quite know where that comes from. I haven't thought about that a lot. Because I know you love your kids. I'm sure you love them more than yourself, but you just don't get that part of it. That when you're blaming them, you're actually putting yourself first. You should be putting them first.
Is there anything else you want to touch on before we get into the questions?
I don't think so, because stuff always comes up as we go along.
That it does. Okay, the first question.
Why did you say it like that? That it does. So proper.
I don't know.
That it does. That it does. Okay.
Okay. We'll talk about this later.
I've never heard you say that before.
Okay.
We're mother and daughter, by the way. That's and this is the only time we ever work together. We're in the same business together, BratBusters, but we never work together except the podcast. So it gets a little bit punchy at times, and we're best friends too, so we know each other very, very well.
I thought you were going to be like, this is the only time we ever see each other.
Oh gosh, no.
Just air out everything on air.
No.
Okay, the first question is Alyssa from the United States, ages 4, 2, and a newborn. You've said that you need to fill up your kids' cup with play. That's their love language. How much should we be playing with our kids? I'm not sure how to balance getting stuff done around the house and still encouraging them to play by themselves with each other. If they could play with me all day, they would choose that.
Okay. There is no set time, but what I used to do with my kids is, and my son was really good at entertaining himself. You not so much. You were Velcro with me. But if I had to get something done, I would say, well, sure, you can be with mom. You come over here and you can help me mop the floor. They got real bored with that real fast. So if I did have to get something done, I would just invite them to help along. And they didn't want to do it anyway. So as they got older, especially. And there is no set time. But, also a really good idea to sort of regulate this more is to say, okay, look, I'm going to be playing for 30 whole minutes, and you set a timer, one of those visual ones that they can see the picture disappearing, whatever. And then when the alarm goes, say, okay, now don't say I'm going to stop playing. That's negative. Say, okay, now I'm going to go do the dishes or something. So it's sort of a signal that the play is going to stop. Also, one thing that I was big on was when my kids were around, like I didn't want a playroom. I wanted them around me all the time. So I was always chatting with them. So even though I wasn't playing with them all the time, we were singing or chatting, or I was just watching them play, and I might comment the odd time. But a lot of parents want their kids to just play independently, and they don't want to be involved. And they're like, they want the hands-free approach, which is, there's time for that too. But what I mean by that is their kids are playing, and heaven forbid you should interrupt them. Whereas I was more likely to interrupt my kids by using a comment. So I would bring them in, and then they learned that just because I'm commenting on what they're playing with doesn't mean I'm going to join in. Okay. So sometimes it's just chatting with them is enough.
I have a lot of memories of you writing to your mom. You'd have like a cup of tea and you'd be off somewhere, but you were chatting to us.
Yeah, I was. I was always chatting to my kids. And they were good company. Like but if they were getting on my nerves, I'd just say, scram, I need some no kid time. But because I was already so connected, they would just go, oh, okay. And they'd happily skip away. It was no big deal.
Okay. The next one is Michelle from Finland, 3 years and 4 months. Do you discipline kids at other people's houses? For instance, if the kid breaks a rule, so no hitting, at a friend's house, do you suggest to do the consequence there? So wipe off the dishwasher and media blackout if needed. I feel he's too young to wait until home so that he can connect the something that he did hours ago to now being disciplined later.
Okay, he's 3. You say, we'll talk about it later, and you do it at home. He's old enough. You can delay the consequence. And then when you get home, say, remember when you hit someone at that day or whatever, I said, we'll talk about it when we get home. Well, we're home now. Let's go to the behavior board. Here's your rule, no hitting, and you hit, here's your consequence. So you wait till you get home. But you do mention it. You just don't follow through.
How long would you wait?
Oh, it can be all day. If you're out all day, like at Disneyland or something, when you get home, then you can say, okay, remember you kicked someone at Disneyland or something. So here's your consequence.
I remember that. I don't know what specifically it was, but I remember if I ever acted out and we were out somewhere, you'd be like, we talk about this later.
Yeah, I always whispered, oh, we'll discuss that later. And they go, oops.
I'd be sweating.
Yeah, delay the consequence, makes them sweat and gives you time to think. I like to come up with creative stuff though. Like usually one of my favorite things was I'd say, go get the brush. And they'd have to brush my hair for 5 minutes. They hated doing it, and I loved having it done. So I like to be creative with it. And also the consequence can be bonding. Like when they're brushing my hair, they weren't mad. We were just chatting while they're doing it. But they didn't like doing it, but they still did it. And then we'd just be chatting. So don't make the consequence horrible. You don't have to. Okay. But if they've done something horrible, you can go to different levels with it. But overall, it doesn't have to be something horrible. It's just a good deed. You did something bad. Now you do something good. You're making amends.
To clarify too, it went both ways. So if we were out and my mom messed up, I'd go, as I got older, I'd go, we'll talk about this later.
And I would be shaking and shaking. Oh, it was two-way street for sure. If you're not accountable, you're not a leader. You're just a dictator. It's a two-way street. You also have to be accountable.
Maybe talk more about that, because if this is someone's first time listening to you, they might not know that that's your approach.
Okay, well, the way I teach this, it's funny. I started my business it was 18 years ago. It was 2007. And it was, I think, in October. Anyway, so that's when I started. And the first year was pretty rough because I was teaching what I do. I don't do that anymore because I'm level 10 with all this stuff because I invented it, right? So but I was teaching what I do, and I didn't know how to teach people how to be accountable because I never used a behavior board. I would never use one. It's a teaching tool. And I invented that. I put the parents on it too. Everyone 3 and above, parents included, have to be on that behavior board. There's rules and consequences for everybody. Once I invented that, coaching became a whole different story because I realized you don't teach what you did if you were already sort of an expert at it. You teach how you get there. So it was the behavior board. And that was what changed everything. I thought, I can't get across to these parents the importance of being accountable and why you need to show. And it's strong to say I made a mistake. It's not weak. That's a sign of strength. To say, gee, I messed up. How about I make amends? How about I do something nice for you or whatever? That's a strength. That's a leadership quality. So yeah, it was when I invented that behavior board and I put the parents on it. Changed everything.
And it makes you feel really respected as a kid. Like I do remember that is that it, and even with teachers, if a teacher messed up and they made amends after, it makes you feel like they care.
Well, I was just talking about something I saw a teacher do once because I used to be in back of classes dealing with challenging kids. And a teacher came in, a really good teacher, and she came in and she goes, and the kids were just acting feral. I don't know why, but anyway, they were just acting out this one day. I think they'd just come back from a trip or something, like an outing. So anyway, they were all wound up. And she said, someone's going to get in trouble today. And then she said, and I just hope it isn't me. The kids all laughed, and then they were good. You see, there was no threat there. It was more just using humor, but letting them know at the same time. I thought that was a really cute way of handling it. And I just hope it isn't me. So in other words, we all got to act good. We all got to watch ourselves, right?
Okay, the next one is Jennifer from the United States. Hi, my child is 5.5, and he also has a 4-year-old sister. He started kindergarten in August, and honestly, I'm worried about his behavior and how it would be in school. Turns out he's a model student, angelic as his teachers call him, and never gets in trouble. At home, however, he is a completely different child. From the moment he gets in the car when I pick him up, all the way until bedtime, he is a handful, to say the least. He will sometimes raise his fist if I tell him no for some reason. He hits his sister daily, straight up will punch her, and has even hit me. Unless it's just him and I, in which case he's a sweet little boy that I used to know. Calm, sweet, and affectionate. Please help. What do I do? Do I need to change myself and my parenting?
Yeah, it's you. If he's good for like the teacher's obviously a leader and you're not. And also if it's just you and him, no one else is getting in the way and things are probably going his own way, right? I'm assuming you appease him too. You kind of give in a little bit more because to avoid a scene. That's what that says to me. If he's good with you when you're alone and not when his sister's around, there's someone else in the mix who might be getting the attention he wants. Whereas when it's just you and him, he's getting all the attention, right? So anyway, it's all you. Of course that it's all you. That's the best news you can hear. You can't change someone else. You can only change yourself. He knows how to follow a leader. You just have to set yourself up as a leader. So how do you do that? You start with a behavior board, one step at a time, one behavior board per week, and you go up to 3 of them, okay? So 3 behavior boards. If you want to know what to do after that, that would be the boot camp course. But the behavior boards might be all you need. So, and they're completely free. It's on BratBusters.com. It's at the very top of the website. You have to sign up to the newsletter to get the behavior board.
You've talked about this before as well. Do you ever see in these sorts of situations, again, you only know so much, but do you ever see that the younger sibling is antagonizing?
That happens a lot. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of other things that could be going on. So the younger sister might be teasing him a lot too. So oftentimes the older one but I didn't get the impression he was just going after her. I got the impression he was also going after the mom. That's why I didn't mention that. But if it's just about the kids fighting all the time, usually the younger one antagonizes the older one lashes out, and the older one gets in trouble. And it's a vicious cycle. You got to watch that. I'd go after the one who started it and the one who finished it. I'd go after both of them. You got to figure out what's going on first, though.
I think to loop back to the topic of the episode is we are kind of talking about discipline now. How do you suggest in these cases focusing on that connection?
Oh, the connection? Yeah, if kids aren't getting along, I never separate them. I never do one-on-one time with each kid. It's really important not to do that. It builds resentment. Okay, so if you do a lot of one-on-one time with a kid who's acting out all the time, and the other kid, whatever, it's just going to cause more problems. So you play with them together, stay between them and play a game. You play to the youngest one that they can play just as well as the older one. Play a game that isn't necessary, or do an activity that isn't competitive. It could just be artwork or science kits or magic kits or something. There's no winner and no loser, and you play with them. You are basically guiding them on how to get along. And then if they do start fighting, you can just say, I'll tell you what, let's just take a 2-minute break because you guys are arguing. Let's just stop for 2 minutes. And then you keep doing that repeatedly. You might just stop for 1 minute the first time, time it, and don't lie. Don't stop for 30 seconds. Stop for 1 minute. Anytime you say something and don't follow through, kids don't interpret that as no big deal. They interpret that as a lie, that you're not trustworthy. If you say, I'm going to stop the game for 1 minute, Stop it for 1 minute, set a timer, and then when the timer goes off, don't discuss the bad behavior. Just go right back to playing again. That's connection. All parents want to talk about bad behavior, almost all parents I work with, and I say, what's the point? You never discuss bad behavior. You deal with it and move on. So the consequence with that was that you stop the fun. You stop the fun for 1 minute. If they start up again, stop it for 2 minutes. If they start up again, stop it for 3. And then I might just say, I'll tell you what, we'll try again tomorrow. So that's connection.
Okay, the next one is Allie from the United States. My child just turned 3 years old and recently moved to the classroom with mostly 3-year-olds at daycare. I received incident alerts of him misbehaving. One included him randomly hitting another kid in their stomach or tearing out a page of the book. His teachers would state that they asked him, why did he do that? And he won't respond or would make him apologize to the children or him. He does not tear out pages of books at home. He loves reading, so it's very abnormal. But he does have a little sibling at home, which he does randomly push every now and then. Is this behavior considered something more serious? What can I do to help navigate this?
Well, I wouldn't worry about it. It's too early to worry about that. If he's 16 and still beating up other people, then I'd worry about it. But anyway, so you said that he's starting to get aggressive at school. So you have to address that when he gets home. You say, can you just report to me and I'll let them do whatever they do. You never micromanage teachers or daycare workers or grandparents. Let them do what they're going to do. You trust someone with your kids, let them stay in their own lane and do whatever they do. Sometimes though, teachers will actually ask the parents, what are you doing at home? Can I support that at school? But wait till they offer that, right? So, because you can't expect special behavior for each kid, right? But sometimes they have more time. If it's just daycare, they sometimes have more time for that. Anyway, so you say to him, okay, so your rule is no hurting other people or damaging property. You can say that and explain what it is. Draw a picture because he won't be able to read the behavior board. So draw basically a really basic picture. He doesn't have to totally understand it yet. He'll learn as you go. And then you have the teacher or daycare worker report to you. When you pick them up, they can just go thumbs up or thumbs down. Don't ask a lot of information, okay? In other words, don't bother them. They're busy, especially at pickup and drop-offs at times. So anyway, they'll just go thumbs up or thumbs down. Then you'll say to him, okay, so I understand you did something naughty at school. So when we get home, we'll discuss it when we get home. Then when you get home, you walk to the behavior board, you point to the rule, say, okay, your rule is this, and you broke a rule at school. Here's your consequence, okay? Now, the reason why he's good at home is because no one's grabbing those books off of him. That's why. Okay, because at school it's competitive. There's other kids that want the same thing. He's the only one that's at his level. You've got a little wee one at home too who isn't quite there yet, but he'll probably get aggressive with that little one if you don't address this now, because the little one will start getting more in his space. So he doesn't want anyone in his space. He doesn't want to share stuff. That's why he's acting out at school.
I remember that, the idea of having to share all of the communal toys, but I remember specifically, I don't know if you recall this, but I was in kindergarten and I really wanted to bring my Barbie to school one day, and you let me. I don't know what came over you. You must have had a fever or something to let me do that, but you let me, and it had a white wedding dress on, this Barbie, and I remember I spilled my Cordial, which is like a Kool-Aid.
It's like a Kool-Aid, yeah, in Australia. That, by the way, they were born and raised in Australia, so that's why.
I spilled it all over the dress at school, and I was trying to dab it, trying to make it all better, but it was completely dyed pink. And I remember coming home and you were not impressed.
Well, I remember that because it would have been preschool or kindy, I think. And what they had done, it was the day where you bring your favorite doll in or something, or your favorite toy in. So it was they had to bring something. So I remember that. And, but yeah, I remember that. But I never let them take toys out to get ruined. And also that day, they weren't taking the toys out in the playground and getting sand on them. They were only bringing them out for show and tell or something. But I do remember that. So yeah, and she spilled Cordial all over.
Okay, the next one is Summer from the United States. My kids are 3 and 5. I'm wondering about what I can do when I'm in a situation where it's not really possible to implement a corrective action or consequence. So, for example, the car. Let's say my 3-year-old antagonizes her older sister on a road trip, which causes her to start melting down. I tell him to stop, but he doesn't. What next? Love your content. I'm starting the behavior board tomorrow. Wish me luck.
Okay. You said corrective action. I don't do that with 3-year-olds. That's only under the age of 3. I use consistent corrective actions because they're not about words. If they're 3 and above, I would put on the behavior board. You can take that with you if you're going on holidays. It doesn't have to be big, obviously. You can just make it. It doesn't have to be a huge poster board, a giant 8x10 whiteboard.
The kids are cramped in the back with the big behavior board.
Buy a new car, put it on the roof rack. Anyway, so yeah, just make it small, but make it very clear. If you do fight in the car, when we get to where we're going, actually vacations are wonderful. wonderful. If you're going somewhere, and it's usually somewhere fun for the kids, you got great leverage. What you do is you watch who started it and you say to them, whoever starts the fight is going to get in trouble. But if you finish it, you'll get in trouble too. So if you retaliate. Anyway, so here's what you do. There's not much you can do when you're driving, okay, obviously. But when you get to where you're going, you say, okay, so let's say the younger kid started it, right? And the other kid did not retaliate. I'm just using this as an example. So you get to the hotel room and you say, okay, so we're going to Disneyland at 9:00. When we get there and you say to the younger one who started it, your consequence is going to be that your sibling gets to go on the first ride and you don't. Ooh, you delay the fun. You don't take it away at the end. You just delay it at the start. Another one is you can just say, okay, we're going to be going at 9. If they were both acting out, say we were going to be going at 9, but now we're going to go at 9:30. You were never going to, you might even say, if you want to go at 9, you can still go at 9, but you say to them, we were going to go at 8:30, but now we're going to go at 9. You delay the fun. So the way you delay it with both of them is you just say, we were going to go earlier, but now we're not. The way you delay it with one is they can't join in the fun initially. They miss the first round of whatever you're doing.
That would crush.
It hurts. You know why? Especially if it's just one of them. They get to watch their sibling going around Dumbo at Disneyland. They get to watch their sibling enjoy it. So they're going to think twice before they fight in the backseat of the car next time. It's going to take time, by the way. Won't work the first time. It's going to take some time, but they'll learn eventually. You got to be consistent, though. You got to follow through. If you're only going to address fighting one day and then another day you think it's just not worth it, then you're not a leader. You got to be 100% predictable, consistent, follow through. You say what you say, mean what you mean, blah, blah, blah. If you don't, they're going to run you right. They're going to be in charge for sure. I was 100% predictable. You know what? I've mentioned this to some clients talking to them, and I said, you said one time I wasn't, and you brought it up. I can't remember what it was. One time when I said something and I didn't follow through, but there was a good reason for it. But if I said something, it was going to happen. I had to make it happen because I'd already said it. The key is be careful what you say. Okay, so don't go crazy. Okay, no TV for a whole year. That's ridiculous. I would think before I would say something. I thought, am I going to follow through with this? Yeah, I'll do it. So make sure that you are consistent. Really important. It's kind of being calm, connecting with kids, super important. You're calm during the storms and you're crazy during the rainbows. The storms are when you're disciplining. There's no anger. If you show anger, disappointment, or frustration at your kids, if they're naughty, you're not a leader.
Calm, consistent connection.
Connection. I don't like that. Sound calm, consistent connection.
I knew you wouldn't.
Because you know why? Because connection is usually the crazy. It's usually the play, and that's not calm. When you're playing with kids, it's all in their world, and it's crazy, big, goofy. Get down the floor with them, play with them.
Calm, consistent, and crazy connection.
And crazy. Okay, let it go.
Let me have it.
No, too late.
Okay, the next one is Hannah from the United States. After taking consequential action with my children, mainly my 5-year-old who is now in school, I also have a 3-year-old, both boys. My 5-year-old will lash out, whether it be him saying he's going to hit me or that he hates me. It's just so startling because we've never used that language like we hate each other in our house. What can I do to de-escalate?
Well, if he says he hates you, that's in the attitude department. It just says that he doesn't respect you. So you got to work on your leadership, get the behavior board going, use all these, and do the connection too, because a lot of parents say, I'm following through with all the discipline, but are you connecting? Are you playing with them? Your consequence on the board is about the connection. So your rule would be something like no yelling. And if you yell, then you have to play with them in their world, like a kid-led play for 15 minutes or something. So that's for them. Okay. So yeah, you're missing something. I don't know what you're missing, but you're missing something. If you're doing the whole picture, it just works, right? If you're really connected with the kids, you're also accountable. You mess up sometimes, then you make amends. So I don't know what's going on. I'd have to address that. Like, I don't have enough information to know why he's doing that, but I know he doesn't respect you. If he's, my kids never said they hated me because they just wouldn't have. I never said that to my mom or dad. You just don't. When you look up to someone, you just don't talk like that. So that's on you. Remember, we always look in the mirror. If our kids are acting out, you always think, what am I missing? You don't blame them because they're your victims, right? They're victims of your parenting. That's all it is. So don't blame them. Just say, what am I missing here? I got to figure this out. What am I doing wrong? What should I be doing right?
Because I can envision someone hearing that. It might feel a little disheartening to hear those words from your kids in general.
Yeah, it is, but they're only saying it because they're mad. Of course they love you. They're just saying it because they're mad and because they think it bothers you. Like if a kid said to me, I've worked with lots of kids who said they hated me until I got that leadership going. It takes a bit of time. But then they'd say, "Oh, you're awful," or something. I go, "Okay, whatever. Anyway, let's get back to work." Like, in other words, it means nothing to me. And I know they would have said that to their parents because it works. It gets under their skin. Their parents would say, "That's not very nice." You're feeding it, right? You're giving it energy. I don't put my energy into that stuff. It's in the attitude department, and that's the last thing that disappears is their attitude. And it happens organically once you're a leader and not before. Everyone wants respect, but you haven't earned it yet. You got to earn that. I worked my butt off to get respect with those kids, especially those troubled teens. I was sweating. I was working so hard to get their respect. And then once I did, piece of cake. Maintaining it's easy, getting it's hard work. But you got to earn it. Don't expect your kids to treat you with respect if you haven't even earned it. Doesn't make any sense at all.
Okay, we have one final question. So it's Beth from Australia. I was listening to an episode recently where you talked about how you made kids feel good about themselves and how a teenage girl said that she didn't like herself until she met you. That's such a beautiful impact to have on someone and must be a wonderful thing to hear from a kid. What sorts of things do you think you do that make kids feel good about themselves? Do you have examples? I would love to bring more of this into my parenting and life in general.
That was a boy who said that. And anyway, I was just talking to someone earlier in coaching, and I was saying how when, let's say I was working with a kid who was really struggling in school, right? And they couldn't do math, and maybe people were trying to push them into being better and all that. I never felt that was the way to get the best out of kids. Do you know what I used to do? The teacher one time said to one of the teenagers I was working with, said, "Well, I can't believe you didn't do that. We've gone through it all before." And then this kid just felt so beaten down, of course, lashed out at the teacher after the teacher said that. And then I whispered to them and I says, "Well, I couldn't do it either. So we're both stupid then, right?" And we just laughed. I mean, it's okay to not be good at something. It's okay. But I always enter their world. I always was relatable with them. Like they couldn't do math. Well, I can't do it either. So I guess we're both stupid. And they love that because I don't expect that from them. All I expect from kids I was working with was that they like themselves. That was my only goal. Now, here's what's interesting is because I started making them feel good about not being good at something, right? It's okay to not be good at something. Because I made them feel good about that, they got better at it. So I went in the other door. I went in that, yeah, it's okay, because they'd say I'm so stupid. And then I'd say, well, so am I, because I don't get it either. They love that. And then it opens the door because there's no resistance there. There's no shaming. There's no blaming. There's no embarrassment. None.
And I think having that goal of them liking themselves, I mean, that's just like any adult. Like you see any adult who's maybe being a little catty or a little not very nice, is that generally they're not feeling really great about themselves.
Well, I want to make this very clear. If an adult treats me like that, my attitude is, "Oh, the heck with you." Walk away. Like this is the mothering in me, right? If I'm mothering my clients or mothering kids, then my goal is always that they like themselves and they feel good about themselves moving forward, right? So, but with kids especially, that you make them feel good about themselves. That is the connection. Make them feel good about themselves. Enter their world. Show an interest in what they're doing. Like I've worked with lots of kids. Believe me, I had nothing in common with a whole bunch of them. But I said, "Well, what do you like to do?" I didn't say, "What are you good at?" They don't always enjoy what they're good at, by the way. Sometimes they enjoy something they're really bad at, right? So I'd say, "What do you enjoy? What makes you happy?" And then they'd show me something and they'd maybe, I don't know, they'd just draw something or, it was some riddle thing or something. And I go, "Oh, show me more." Then I would become their student. They'd be showing me something that they enjoy. And they love that. Again, that makes them feel good, right? And I didn't fake it either. Like I'm really open-minded, actually. I like learning new stuff and I like starting, I have an open mind. So I would just say, "Show me." And then they would, and I'd really try. And then oftentimes when I was finished working with them that day, then I'd go home at night and I might practice it out. And then I'd go home and show, how do you think that made them feel? They knew I was volunteer, by the way, so I wasn't getting paid for this. So then I always felt like I was mothering them. So then I'd go in the next day and I'd show them this riddle or something, I don't know, some puzzle I'd drawn out or something. And it made them feel good. I took an interest. I did on my time. I'd go home and I'd try and figure something out that they'd showed me. You see, I entered their world. You always connect in their world, not yours. And I never discuss bad behavior, ever.
And I think there's something to be said about that candid approach. And I knew you were never lying to me when you were saying something. Like you were very honest in a sense of when I wasn't great at something, you weren't sugarcoating it and telling me I was.
Well, I might have said this. "Yeah, you do suck at that." But then I would add, "And I suck at this," so who cares? We're not going for perfection here. No one's perfect, and who would want to be anyway? So, but it's important to focus on what brings them joy, not what they're good at. A lot of parents make that mistake. But he's so good at the piano. He keeps saying he hates it, but he's so good at it. And I'm like, what's your point here? Like, that's not how you connect. You don't connect at what they're good at. It might be the same thing, but it might not be. Like, lots of kids love playing sports and they're horrible at it, right? But then encourage that. Don't just encourage what they're good at. That's important because you're allowing them to be human and to not be great at everything. They don't have to pursue what they're great at necessarily. Sometimes it is the dream and they will get better at it, right? But you got to be practical as they get older too. They can't just, dream that they want to be a star and that's all they want to do. But yeah, you want to make them feel proud of what they enjoy.
And it might shift and change, and maybe one aspect of what they enjoy becomes what they do in the future. Like, for example, you were very candid. I was 15, 13, 14, I don't know, and YouTube was becoming a thing, and beauty, maybe we'll end on this story. Beauty influencers were really up and coming. And I thought to myself, you know what, Amy? I'm going to be the next beauty influencer. So I set up my little camera and I decided to do a makeup tutorial. And in the makeup tutorial, I was very specific. I said, you don't want to draw one stroke line as eyeliner.
Yeah.
I said, you want to do it in little feathers. What do? I draw one big stroke of eyeliner. I wish we had this video footage. We didn't. We cracked up over that because I was so bad at it.
Well, plus, here's the thing. She came down and told me because she knew I would love that. We just cracked up. She's doing this tutorial, telling them not to do something, and then she just goes ahead and does it. So you see, it's funny. Like, she wasn't any good at it, obviously. So she doesn't like makeup anyway. So I don't even know why she was doing it.
But now I edit videos as part of my job. So,
That's right. That's right. So kind of a connection there. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with being bad at something. But I always told my kids, I said, you never be afraid of trying something if you're fear of failing. Go for it anyway, and we'll laugh when you fall down because that's part of life. Life is, to me, success is paved by a road full of failures. If you're not pushing past your comfort zone and trying stuff, rather than just being safe all the time, you're never going to grow. You're never going to succeed. So I always told my kids, there's no shame in failure, but come home and tell me about it and we'll laugh.
Literally, please have video footage.
I said to her, did you? And she goes, I erased it. I was almost crying. I would have loved that. But she couldn't wait to come down and tell me she'd done it, but she didn't keep it. But anyway, so yeah, it's not about, now when I say connecting, be very careful with this. Don't try and pull them into your world. A lot of parents make that mistake. You want them to be mini-me's. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to find what my kids were going towards, what they enjoyed, and what they were good at sometimes too. Wherever they were headed, I was always encouraging them. But I also was very practical. I said, if you have a dream of being a great star or an artist or something like that, you got to have a job. You got to be scrubbing toilets to pay the rent. So I said, you have to just be really practical. So, because I didn't want to hand them out anything either. I wanted them to learn how to work for themselves. But there's no shame in making mistakes. There's no shame in not being perfect. None of us are. So quit shaming your kids for making mistakes. Just say, yeah, you messed up. Here's your consequence. And then stop talking about it. Everyone wants to talk about the bad behavior. That's the shaming and blaming and bullying. Well, I don't do that. I just say, yeah, you messed up. So do I sometimes. Oh, well, here's your consequence. Matter of fact.
Okay, should we end there?
I think we should. So it's about connection. It's not about discipline. Discipline is a small part of it, but it's really about the connection. Once they feel good about themselves in your presence, how do you think they're going to treat you? Wonderful. Okay, so think about that. Have you ever been around someone who makes you feel good? How do you treat that person? When you feel good, you do good. When you feel bad, you do bad. Are you making your kids feel good or are you making them feel bad? Think about it. Okay, I think that's it. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back again soon with another parenting topic. Happy parenting.
Thanks for tuning in. If you're ready to dive deeper, check out BratBusters.com to learn more about the Behavior Board, parenting courses, and private one-on-one coaching with Lisa. If you've enjoyed the show so far, we'd love it if you could take a moment to follow, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more parents just like you. The information provided in this podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional advice. Lisa is a parenting coach, mom, and grandmother. She is not a licensed psychologist or counselor. Her services do not replace the care of psychologists or other healthcare professionals. For a full disclaimer, please visit BratBusters.com/disclaimer.